The Lord said to me, "You are my servant Israel, through whom I show my glory. Now the Lord has spoken, who formed me as his servant from the womb." That's the line from the prophet Isaiah that we just heard in the first reading. And then in the responsorial psalm, we all just sang, "Here am I, Lord, I come to do your will." These lines got me thinking, and this weekend, especially as we honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his famous speech where he says, "I have a dream." And he goes on to speak about civil rights. Well, if I am a servant who is supposed to show the glory of the Lord, and I am here to do his will, then I too have a dream. And my dream is that the rights of all people will be recognized, and all of us will be witnesses to these rights. A dear friend of my family, when I was growing up, had one daughter. This lady was quite elderly at the time I was having this conversation with her, and she told me the story of how she married late in life and had one daughter when she was in her 40s. When her daughter was born, they found her to have Down's syndrome. At that time, they tried to keep her from the baby. They wouldn't bring the baby into the room with the mother even, because they wanted to encourage her to give the baby to the state, because she would be a handful to take care of. This woman went on to tell me that she responded by telling the doctors that if her baby was a handful, then she would take her baby home in a hand basket, but she would love her as she was. And love her she did. And this woman that I'm speaking of lived into her 90s, and her Down syndrome daughter lived to be 60 years old. And she was able to bring nothing but love to her mother until the day her mother died. Today, when Down syndrome can be determined during pregnancy, statistics show that more than 90% are terminated through abortion. I have a dream that we can provide hand baskets, like my friend said. Christine Gauthier, a former Paralympian who served in the Canadian military, contacted the Veterans Affairs of Canada, VAC, in 2019, and she asked for a home wheelchair lift to help her maneuver her home more easily. She testified before Canada's House of Commons Veterans Committee just a few weeks ago, in December. You may have seen it in the news. And she was shocked when the VAC employee offered her assisted suicide as a solution to her suffering. She's fought for a wheelchair accommodation for 5 years. She said, "I have a letter saying that if you're so desperate, madam, we can offer you MAID, M-A-I-D, medical assistance in dying." She said, "I was like, I can't believe that you will give me an injection to help me die, but you will not give me the tools I need to help me live." I have a dream that we will be witnesses who will provide the tools to help people at all stages to live. Jenna found herself pregnant with no support from her parents, and her boyfriend gave her the full amount to have an abortion. She had already had one abortion and deeply regretted it. So she contacted the Sisters for Life, and they got her to talk to other women who were in similar positions. One of those other women said to Jenna, "Jenna, God chose you for this baby." Those words stuck in Jenna's mind. The next day, she was supposed to leave to get her abortion. But those words couldn't be ignored. It made it impossible for her to follow through with her abortion. Thanks be to God. At 20 weeks pregnant, she found out that she was having a little girl. But she also found out that the little girl was tested positive for spina bifida. So, of course, the doctors talked to Jenna about all the difficulties that she would have, and certainly they encouraged her. Abortion, the solution. "What are you going to do, Jenna?" they asked. Jenna looked at the doctors and said, "I'm going to be a good mother. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to love her and raise her." A month later, the doctors apologized, saying the test was a false positive. Jenna told the Sisters for Life, "If you ever need a girl to talk to someone, I want to be that girl." Jenna's daughter was born perfectly healthy. A month later, Alicia, 19, came to the sisters. Jenna was called to speak to Alicia. Jenna told Alicia, "I've made both decisions. Not a day goes by that I don't think about that first baby. You can't make this choice based on what everybody else is telling you to do. You have to go with your heart. You live with it, and others move on." Think about that line. You live with it, others move on. Alicia took those words to heart and had her baby. Thanks be to God. You know, circumstances can change overnight, but life is a gift that comes to us when God chooses in His power, and He makes no mistakes, even when we do. I have a dream that we can be witnesses to show that every life matters, and to support women to choose life. During the 9/11 attack, a man tells the story of how he was in the tower when the plane hit the first tower, and he managed to come down and get into the subway, trying to get out. And when he got down there, people were frantically trying to get into the trains and get away from that danger zone. And then the explosion of one of the towers occurred, and the subway was completely filled with soot, and it was pitch black, darker than dark. There was one lone voice heard. "Follow me, I'll get you out." It was the blind beggar that people had seen and ignored day after day. It was the blind man who led a human chain of people with linked arms out of the subway to safety. I have a dream that we will be witnesses to the fact that every life matters, even those that we might ignore. Dr. Michael Brescia, the co-founder and executive medical director of Calvary Hospital in the Bronx, invented the fistula over 50 years ago. This is an internationally renowned method of hemodialysis that represents a milestone in the treatment of kidney disease, and it is still in use today, over 50 years later. At the time of the invention, a drug company offered Dr. Brescia millions of dollars if he would not tell anyone about it for 1 year so that they could get the exclusive rights to it. Dr. Brescia went home and spoke to his father, an Italian immigrant, who asked his son, "How many people in the world will be saved every year by your invention?" He said, "Papa, 50,000 in America alone. Worldwide, even more." His father looked at him and said, "Hurry up then. Don't waste a day." To which Dr. Brescia proceeded to tell his father about the drug company proposal of postponing for 1 year. To which his father emphatically said in Italian, "No, no. If you do that, when you shave in the morning, your face will disappear in the mirror, and the faces of all the children whose parents could have been saved will come and appear one after another after another. When you sit down at the dinner table, you will have to keep a chair empty for all the people who died that year because of your silence. Don't think of this world. Don't think of the boats and the cars and the houses. You will let 50,000 people die?" His father said, "No, no, lasciare, lasciare," which means let it fly, give it away. Today, the value of that invention is over $60 billion. And Dr. Brescia gave it away, never saw a penny of it. I have a dream that we can be witnesses who consider the consequences for life in all of our decisions. This Friday, as we go to the March for Life, you might be thinking, "Father, you're a dreamer." And I will say to you, you're absolutely right. But I believe dreams can come true when you and I are willing to be his witnesses and say, "Here am I, Lord. I come to do your will. I come to do your will for life."